Welcome to Soul-Led Creative Women, the podcast for heart-centered creative women who are ready to reclaim their spark and live with deeper meaning, authenticity, and soul. In 2024, Katie Rizzo lost her firstborn son to addiction. She found that grief mirrored pregnancy. The first few months she had nausea as grief moved in. Then there was a period of numbness, followed by showing, where she wanted everyone to know. She began writing poetry, something she had never done before, as a way to speak to him across the veil. Katie Rizzo's memoir, The Trimesters of Grief, is going to be released later this year. So welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
So let's just start with your story, and more specifically, tell us about how creativity weaves into your journey as well.
Right, great. Thanks. Well, as you said, I lost my son to addiction, and that was, he struggled with addiction, but our family really struggled with it for a good 4 or 5 years before he accidentally overdosed. So it was a time where there was no creativity,
Yeah.
but also the time where there was just a lot of shame. And I think Nicholas really was worried what other people thought of him and felt very embarrassed. And I think my family took that on as well. And that's not a good place to be in if you're trying to be creative. I was a high school teacher, and once Nicholas passed, I just couldn't do anything. I found myself, as you said, just numb and not doing well. The funny thing about this whole thing, or not so funny, but the interesting thing is that my self-esteem just really changed. So
Okay.
once Nicholas was gone, I felt like I could either stay inside and just, I don't know, pretend that it didn't happen, or kind of feed into society and just be okay with, oh, he had a problem with self-will, there was a problem in our family. And but instead I really I found this weird opening in poetry where I could sit down and kind of be close to him. I wouldn't say it was like autonomic writing to him, but I definitely felt a connection.
Hmm.
And I would sit down and write it, and then I did the craziest thing. I started posting things on Instagram and Facebook, which is very public.
Hmm.
And I I got to a place where I just wanted to be real. I didn't want to be liked. I knew that there were other people out there hurting in the world, and I just wanted to be 100% who I was. And who that person was somebody who loved her son, who loved her family. And, our oldest died of addiction. And I was like, this is who I am. And it opened up a place in my world where I felt like the only place I could be real was in creativity. And my husband is a scientist. He has a PhD in physics, and so he's very logical. And all of a sudden, he started playing the guitar. He just took it
Okay.
up, started lessons, and our house has become a place where I do a lot of writing of poetry. He does hundreds of hours of playing the guitar and practicing. And it's just it's a new place for us. It's almost
Mm.
not like we believe that we could talk to Nicholas through the veil, but I'm not saying we don't. Like it's a non-logical, very open place to live.
Okay. So this season of your life, it seems very much about finding purpose and meaning, if you like, from deep pain.
Yeah.
So even though you would never ask for it, do you think that pain in this way has been your greatest catalyst for personal growth?
Well, I'm definitely a different person.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like I'm sure I have some ego left, but I feel like a lot of my ego is gone. I don't know. I feel like who I was before was this mom who was putting out in the world, this is who we are. We're a quote perfect family, or we tried hard. But with his death, there's just nothing left, right?
Mm.
There isn't anything I can pretend. It was horrible. It was awful for all of us. My other two living sons, knock on wood, are doing okay. Um, but I want them to live big, full lives full of happiness. And I don't think you can do that when you're pretending like, oh, we don't have addiction in our
Yeah.
family, or, everybody's doing fine.
And so do you think an element of that was in the life before was sort of like denial of, your truth?
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Like
Yeah.
there's so much. I think there's Al-Anon everywhere. Al-Anon is a support group for people who love somebody with addiction. And before Nicholas passed, we would go and I would listen and be like, yeah, 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 I've got this. But so much hope. Like this kid has to make it. And when he didn't, it
Mm,
just there wasn't there it that hope is gone. Yeah.
yeah.
I've been amazed at how important community has been,
Okay.
how important my family has been, obviously. Um, but also connection with something bigger than myself. And I found
Hmm.
that in poetry and writing.
Hmm.
Um, and I think most of the people, my husband and I joined a bunch of support groups for people who are grieving. And most of the people that we've met in them obviously have been, their lives have
Hmm.
been changed, but their lives have been changed in ways that you wouldn't have. We're all very similar. Most of us
Hmm.
changed our jobs. Most of us have changed looking what we find important. I
Hmm.
mean, I used to think I both of my other two sons are getting grad school degrees, and now that's utterly, I mean, it's lovely if that's what they
Yeah.
want. I want them to be happy. Like find your peace.
It's not a box that, they have to tick anymore, whereas maybe it was
Yeah.
before. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
marriage
powerful.
and grandkids,
Yeah.
I would love them, but if that's not in the cards for them,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
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 Cool. So then, touching on, creativity specifically, how do you feel that creativity has helped you to find strength in this grief journey that you've been on?
Well, some of it is just that I feel like more open to the moment. Like if I pay attention to what's happening, a lot of times I don't know what to do with it. For example, let's say we live on a lake and there's a ton of little ducklings and they keep getting born and then they keep dying. And it's just traumatizing to see this like terrible cycle of life. I'm sure if I lived on a farm, I would just be a
Yeah.
wreck.
They don't all make it. Yeah.
No, yeah, it's very sad. And things need to be eaten in order for bigger things to have food. So I don't know. I think living in the moment and looking and watching what's happening
Hmm.
is important. Um, the duck example, a lot of times I'll like sit down and start a poem about the ducks. Like, what is it that's going on in the world that I need to be present to and observe?
Mm.
Um, and maybe that's a little sprinkle of Nicholas's essence talking to me. Maybe not. I don't know.
Mm.
But I think my husband and I have been a lot more aware of what's going on.
Mm.
Um, the other day, there's a bald eagle that landed in our tree in the backyard. And I think normally we would have hustled off and been like, that's cool, and gone to work.
Hmm.
But I think we're just more open to what's happening right here and how is it that what do I need to do with that? Whether it's just appreciate it, whether
Hmm.
it's share with other people, whether it's um, maybe it's a sign from Nicholas, like, hey, this is a part of your journey and maybe something you could think about.
Like a deeper awareness. That's really beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah. The thing that was
yeah,
coming up for me as you were just talking then was it's like finding light in the darkness. So when something dark happens, like the with the ducklings, it's kind
yeah,
of like how can I shift this and how can I see some light in it? And obviously your poetry is really helping you to find that
yeah,
light. Would you agree with that?
yeah. 100%. A lot of times I'm trying to take what I'm seeing and apply it in my poetry.
to understand it, to
Yeah, to
feel
understand
it,
it, and
to
maybe to
witness
make a
it.
link, like, yeah, for sure. And
Mm.
like, um, I'm not the only mom in the world who's lost a kid.
Hmm. Hmm.
And there are tons of people out there who have had, devastating things happen to them, way more worse than I've had. What lesson,
Yeah,
why are we here to
yeah,
live lives where we're getting devastated? And maybe the only reason is to witness other things and try to figure out if there's patterns or,
yeah,
you know,
yeah. I
yeah,
do. I do. I really do.
yeah.
So what's the journey of, writing the book and really stepping into looking at your story maybe through a more creative and truthful lens? What does that
Yeah.
really reveal to you about yourself that you don't think you could have accessed any other way?
Well, in the book, I talk about how I started off with, all these layers of ego
Hmm.
and how, the great science teacher, the mom who's got it all
Yep.
together, and how, like, all of that, once Nicholas left, the question is, am I still a mom? Was I a good one? Like, I had a lot of questions about who I really was. And I
Hmm.
think some of those are important to answer because when you put your art out there and you say, hey, this is
Hmm.
me,
Hmm. Hmm.
you can't have any preconceived notions of, and this is how I want you to perceive me. It's this is me. You do
Yeah.
what
What do
you
you
want with it.
see? Yeah, yeah. What do
Yeah.
you see?
Like
What do
I'm
you
sure
feel?
with your podcast, I'm sure you put that out and you'll get positive and negatives.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you even care. Maybe you're like really evolved and you're like, hey, this is art. Here it is.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's been interesting to have
But do you think you're doing
feedback
it more for
on it.
yourself
Yeah.
than for other people to
Well,
see it? Do you know what I mean?
I
Like, are
think
you?
both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I think
both.
both.
But
So,
does
yeah,
it
I think,
start from maybe like navigating your own kind of inner journey, and then you think actually
yeah,
this could help other people, so that's why you're
yeah,
sharing it,
that's it.
right? Yeah.
That's it. So I'm in a support group. It's called Lit Love in the Trenches. It's for
Hmm.
parents who lost a kid to addiction.
Yep.
And I co-facilitate a group of writers, and we all get together and
Hmm.
write about our losses. And if you bring something to that group, if it's not real,
Yeah.
they won't tear you apart, but they're really like, why are you bringing this? This is,
Yeah.
fluff.
Yeah.
So you have to come in with something really raw and honest. And I think I think that's been really important in my journey. So my book is part memoir, so just part like this is what I went through. This is when people say, "Oh, I could never imagine." Well, here it is. Like
Yeah.
it is as terrible as you would think, and it's possible, hopefully, that people can still find a reason to keep going. I
Hmm.
don't know if you saw in the news, there was just recently a
Hmm.
woman who did assisted suicide because her son died, and that kills me.
Mm.
I've been to a bunch of grief groups with moms who are just what I called my second trimester, just closed up, laying in bed. And I think there are tons of times when I still need to go back to that,
Mm.
but I don't know. Why are we here?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is it to lay in bed and be sad? No. And I don't
No.
think Nicholas would want me to.
Yeah.
So I really wanted the book to maybe give people hope and see some tools that I've used and that I've learned about that could maybe help people.
Yeah. Or that there's light coming, there's light coming further ahead on the journey. Um,
Yeah.
if they're in a really dark place. Like, that's really powerful, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I would say that probably, I have a really good friend who just lost her son. I, I'm in a lot of grief groups, so I
Yeah.
have a lot of friends. But the thing is this, I don't think you can do this alone. You
Mm,
can't. And my friends who are like, I don't want to do a grief group. I'm not a social person. I wasn't a social person. Like
yeah.
I used to feel like my life is complete and full. I've got these three great kids. I've got a good marriage. Like I've got two dogs. I'm good. but you cannot walk this alone.
No.
You've got to say yes to your community, no matter how painful it is to go to groups.
Mm.
Nick and I went to Sweden to a grief retreat, and sitting in a house full of parents who all lost their kids and looking into their eyes and knowing that they're going off and doing
Mm.
things too and trying to build something out of the rubble. It was very impactful.
I'm sure. It's become
Yeah.
part of your identity, though, right? So you've got to find
It,
people that kind of mirror that identity in a way.
yeah.
Otherwise, you just feel really isolated. Is that kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, where
Yeah.
you're going with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so
Oh,
powerful. It's big stuff, though. It's very deep, right? And it must be confronting for other people in your life sometimes to sit there and witness your journey
yeah,
too,
it
which
is.
is
My
another
dad,
reason.
yeah,
Yeah.
I post a lot of poems on Instagram and Facebook, and my dad, he's in his mid 80s, and he'll say like, "Okay, when is this over?" You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, get over it already. Yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
or that one wasn't very good. I wouldn't put that out there. And I understand. Like this is, and also I don't understand, right? Like Nicholas
Mm-hmm.
is never coming back. And my job right now, I feel like, is to witness that and
Mm-hmm.
to try to move on as completely and as honestly as I can. One of my nieces texted me the other day and said, "This is exactly how I've been feeling about Nicholas." And so I don't know, like maybe if you don't want to see it, don't look at it. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
that maybe that's what art is about, right? Is here's this thing that I think is real and raw, and if it doesn't make you comfortable, you don't need to look at it. And
Yeah.
if it speaks to you, then good.
Yeah. And that's how you know it's coming from a really authentic place, I think, as well, right? Because you're not attached to um external validation, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
And a lot of times I'll think like, okay, Nicholas, what do you think? Is this what I'm supposed to be learning, or is this real? Like, and sometimes I'll get a feeling like, you know, save that for later. And other times I'll get a feeling of like, yeah, like in my heart, this is really connected to what is true.
Mm. Like the difference between wallowing too long, versus actually just expressing it and releasing it and letting it drift off, to where
Yeah.
it needs to settle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So, what do you think needed to happen within yourself for you to really own your creative process and write about your truth in this way?
I think mostly it's looking at the world and being present.
Yeah.
I think besides letting go of my ego, but mostly being present and looking at what's happening every day. Um, I think it's important to Nicholas every day and talk about him. And
Hmm.
I think that the more in touch I am with him and my feelings around him and the loneliness, the better I am. There's a saying, grief comes in waves.
Hmm.
And it is true, 100%. And
Yeah.
my husband said, "Well, that's terrible. Nicholas isn't going to be here at the top of the wave or at the bottom of the wave."
Yeah.
And and I think the waves are easier to hold on to if you're in touch with like every day, like, okay, today I'm really feeling lonely for him, and or today I'm really upset that he's never going to have kids, or today whatever
Hmm.
what is the issue in grief, because it's not one thing.
Hmm.
Or today I'm mad because I can't give him a phone call and tell him his favorite team won something. So I think the more in touch I've been, the the better it's been.
Hmm. And so reflecting on your life before then, in terms of presence and really kind of owning the moment, what would you
Yeah.
say, what would you say your
Yeah.
experience of life was before? Yeah.
I think I was halfway there, just planning dinners and
Yeah.
activities. And I don't think I was really of able to notice what was going on inside of me.
Mm.
I live a very slow life now. It's
Yeah.
a lot more quiet. Um, with the trimesters of grief, the whole theory is that I had to deliver this grief.
Hmm.
And a lot of days I'll sit down and try to picture what does my grief look like today. And usually it's a little orangutan and he's got crazy hair. And I feel like it's something that Nicholas and I made together, just kind of like how the placenta is something that two people make together. And it's my job to kind of take care of this grief from now on.
Hmm.
Sometimes the orangutan is just in a terrible mood. And other times, he's able to go to the grocery store with me and we can handle it.
Mm.
But the person before would not have been able to. I think she would have pushed all of the emotions down and just been like, we'll deal with this later. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
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 Whereas now I think it's like, yeah, I got to deal with it today.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really powerful. So, I mean, I think that art, mirrors life in lots of
Mhm.
ways. And I know that you've got a lot of that in the theme within your book, where the trimester journey of pregnancy is mirroring your grief. So,
Yeah.
tell us a bit about that mirror and how helpful it was for you as you lent into your creativity and you writing this book to really see that mirror between your art and what you're producing and your life experience as a mother.
Um, well, I think it's important with these big emotions, it's kind of nice to put a framework with them. Otherwise, they just feel unwieldy and you can't, um, not contain them, but just you can't understand them. Like it's important to try to put them within context. Right after Nicholas died, we have a tree, and when he was a baby, he helped us, dig the dirt and put the
Mhm.
tree into our backyard. And it's still here, and Nicholas isn't. And that just blew me away. And the first time that I could put the feelings of that tree is here and Nicholas isn't, it was it was so powerful to me to be able to write about it and have a framework for this little box is a certain kind of grief. And then I could let that be a little bit and I didn't have to carry it with me so much.
Mm.
Um, there's a musician, his name is Nick Cave. I don't know if you know who he is.
Mhm.
Oh, you do? Okay, he
Yeah.
lost two sons. And he talks about how grief used to be inside of him and how he delivered grief. And that's kind of my analogy too. Um, that analogy is just so helpful because it doesn't feel like grief has to like live inside and just be like nose to nose with me. Um,
Mm.
and also the mirror. So I'm a science teacher. I taught AP biology and human anatomy. And I think that that's been really interesting for me because I've tried to look at how different biological systems act together and kind of think about my own grief journey or what's going on in our life and how those kind of mirror one another.
Yeah.
And that's been really helpful.
Mm.
Our lake outside of our house right now has a lot of invasive red slider turtles. They come from Africa. So somebody's like tossed one turtle or two turtles in, and now we have a lake full of
Okay.
turtles. Yeah. And now I'm like, yes, this is a great analogy for what's going on in my life. Like I feel like some days it's like the the addiction that Nicholas went through, like it was this terrible turtle and it overrode his system
Yeah.
until there was almost like nothing he could do about it.
Mm.
Um, and maybe it's silly to be able to kind of look at how life mirrors science or science mirrors what's really going on with humans. But I don't know, putting things in context
Mm.
also it does make it easier to think about them and realize that you're not alone.
Do you think, looking at, we're trying to find meaning, really, aren't we? Do you think it's helping you to anchor, your grief so that it's not sort of floating around? It's
No,
almost
that's a
like
good.
if you can find something tangible to relate it to. So it's almost like, the creative seasons we have mirror nature, it's that sort of concept. And it's the same for you with the
Yeah,
biology piece and the biology of a woman going through that pregnancy period and then giving birth, as you're doing with your grief. So yeah, it's an anchor, I think. Do you agree with
it
that?
really, I 100% agree
Mm,
with it. I don't know who came up with the saying, grief is love with nowhere to go.
mm,
I've looked and there have been a few, and it's a nice saying. It just doesn't, like, it bothered me. Like, I would
yeah,
go to bed and lay there and be like, my love has somewhere to go. It
yeah,
needs to go to Nicholas. Like, I need it to go to Nicholas. This other messy stuff over here, this like anger, this
yeah.
disappointment, just all this other just terrible like sadness, that is not my love.
No,
So I needed a way, as you said, to anchor those
yeah.
things down.
But your book is also holding all of that for you as well. It's holding the light and the
Yeah,
darkness.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
providing that for you as well, that anchor and that soft space for it to be held. So that's
yeah. And
beautiful.
your art is, do you feel like your art is that way too for you?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
anchors in your feeling?
I think that our journey, our evolution and our personal journey or our spiritual journey
Yeah,
is massively tied to our creative journey, and how we express that and how we allow ourselves to be held by it. Because
yeah,
that creative process, it allows you to process what's going on for you emotionally and, your experiences, your grief, whatever
yeah,
you're going through. And to, I'm not saying it goes away completely, but it's going to help you release some of that tension and that energy and transform it into something else that is tangible.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
so
The
powerful.
word transform, metabolize,
Mm,
those are really good words for this because
yeah.
it's so big and it has to be tended to.
Yeah. And, with the love has nowhere to go
Yeah,
thing that you just mentioned, that's sad, right? Like
yeah,
now you've got love, infused into something that you created, something
yeah,
beautiful that other people can
yeah.
witness and use to process their own grief. So
Right.
that's the transformation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I watch my husband play the guitar, and
Mm,
it's usually songs that are very sad.
okay.
Um, I don't know. There's just you're like, okay, 100%. I have no idea what feeling that is, but that is the exact feeling that
Mm,
I'm feeling.
But he's expressing it and releasing
Yeah,
it as he's doing that.
yeah.
So it's so
Yeah.
good. Mm.
There, there's a book by Colin Campbell. He wrote Finding the Words. I don't know if
Okay.
you've read it. It's a grief book. He lost two kids and from a drunk driver.
Okay.
And one suggestion he had was to say yes to everything, which sounds like a terrible movie.
Yeah.
And I, before Nicholas passed, I would say I was an introvert.
Okay.
And and then once he and my husband would be like, "Oh, kind of, maybe you're an introvert." But I really like to be alone. So this was a challenge for me. And I
Mm.
had a lot of people coming over saying like, "Come for a walk. Let's go do this.
Yeah.
Let's go get a pedicure," or something I did not want to do. Or hey, could you drive me to my chemo? And I would be like, are you kidding? My son just died. Like, no. But I ended up saying yes because of that book. And the more I said yes, the more I wanted to say yes. And
Mm.
I think there is something to having community and letting people into your story. And most of those people are people who have encouraged me with my poems and with my writing.
Hmm.
One of the people I would never have become friends with just because she was really young. I'm like, she's asking me to go for a walk, and there's a park near us, and I was like, why would she want to go for a walk with me? You know, I'm in my 50s,
Mm-hmm.
she's in her 30s, like, but she ends up having a publishing business, and she was like, your poems are touching me, and it was just so beautiful to see that that saying yes to somebody and doing something where I think, oh, I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing it only for them. In reality, that kind of, it's always both ways. And the more I can give, honestly, the more I have been able to receive.
Mm. But it's also about choosing things that feel aligned as well, right? So on some level, because you're a lot more present, in your life, you're
Yeah.
saying yes to things that match that energy, that presence, and you're able to
I
choose things that
think
are more in
now I
alignment.
am, but I think back then,
No.
yeah, back
Well,
then I was
maybe
saying yes to
maybe that's
everything. Do you
part of
want
the
to have
journey.
that?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was awful. Yeah.
But maybe that's
Do
part
you
of the
want a
journey.
casserole? Yes, we would love a casserole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think when you're really down, you just need to start taking those baby steps.
Yeah, yeah, sure. But it also helps you. So if your life before was not present and you were not
Yeah.
really in touch with that inner voice and listening to that inner voice, right? You've got to do something to figure that inner voice out, right? So you've got to say yes maybe to more things so that you can say, actually, that really wasn't aligned. And so next
Yeah.
time you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool. So we touched on it briefly, but do you believe that the creative process, helps you to connect with something bigger? Connection to spirit, connection to the divine, God, or your son. Tell us about more about your experience with that.
I Well, I think before this, I didn't know what I believed, and I still don't know what I believe, but
Yeah,
I do think that there have been times where something's happened and there isn't a logical explanation.
yeah.
And I think that if I can sit with those things and like write a poem about them, or sometimes I've woken up in the middle of the night and there's been like a thought, and I've been like, oh, I wonder if Nicholas wanted me to think that. And then
Mm-hmm.
I've been writing about it. A lot of times
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's real deep meaning, at least for me, in it. So I feel, I don't know, maybe there's nothing after we die, but I really want there to be something.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see Nicholas again. And I feel like there have been little glimmers of hope that during my writing, and kind of the more present I am, the more I kind of feel like, hey, maybe that is something. Maybe that was a little thing from Nicholas that you need to pay attention to.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. And do you think that as you've kind of gone through the writing process, have you kind of had moments where you're like, where did that come from? That surprised me,
Yeah,
you
or who
know?
wrote that?
Yeah, that's part of it too, right? It's kind of
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
it just flowed through me. It wasn't really something I was consciously thinking about and consciously, expressing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I have a therapist because,
Yeah.
I've needed a lot of support. And she has this little sandbox where you're supposed to act out things. I don't know. I've never used the
Hmm.
sandbox for anything. And she's like, oh, yeah, we don't usually do anything with it. And at the end of one of my sessions recently, I said, I feel really alone. I miss Nicholas. I miss the little kid Nicholas. I want to connect with him. And as we were walking out, she's like, what is that? And there was a little kid handprint in the sandbox.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, do you have little kids? And she's like, I have no idea how there was a little kid handprint here. And maybe there was a little kid who made a handprint that she
Yeah.
didn't notice.
Yeah.
But I'm taking that handprint. And I
Yeah.
took a picture and then I put my hand next to it. So yeah, I think being open and being curious
Mm.
is a
Mm.
good thing. And I think
Mm.
that's good for creativity, and
Mm.
also for maybe figuring out what's my purpose, why am I here,
Yeah.
and how do I connect with with Nicholas.
Yeah.
So
And it really doesn't matter either, because that handprint, it made you feel better, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It made you feel better. So it's a win.
yeah, it is. And
Yeah.
and I feel like there's a poem in there. I keep like thinking about
Oh,
it
yeah.
and asking Nicholas, like,
Yeah.
hey, what am I going to connect that to? So
Yeah, that'll come. That'll come.
yeah,
Yeah, it feels
yeah,
like it's quite important, so
yeah,
it'll come.
yeah.
So for all the women who are curious about using creativity to process grief, and find more meaning and purpose in it, what powerful message or question would you like to leave them with today?
Mm. Well, that their creativity's in them. I have a friend who always says, I am not a creative person.
Yeah.
Well, if I am a creative person, then you are. And
Hmm.
that I don't know what the purpose of art is if it isn't just to connect with something deep inside of you that kind of clicks and makes you feel like this is right. This is real. So to
Mm.
find that, and I think you can find that in music and dance and pottery and poetry and writing. Um, what I just started trying to learn how to watercolor. There's just something so like it puts you in a trance when you have to be in the moment and be real and be your authentic self. And whoever that is, whatever is on the page, if it doesn't feel like it's authentic, you can toss it. But also just there's some beauty in putting something out there.
Mm.
And as you said, anchoring a feeling with it or anchoring
Mm.
yourself to it.
So beautiful, so beautiful. So how can people get to know you better and get a real feel for the work that you're doing, Katie?
So you can find me at www.katierizzo.com. And there you'll find the two books that are coming out later this year.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming and chatting with me today. I loved our conversation. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks for letting me talk about Nicholas.
Hey, Sam here. Thanks for listening to the end. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to invite you to watch my free masterclass, 3 Shifts Your Soul is Craving, that will transform your art and your life. Inside, I'll share some of the most important lessons creativity has taught me about self-trust, personal growth, and living in alignment with what matters most, and how your own creative practice can become a powerful pathway for transformation. You can watch the free masterclass at samhorton.co/masterclass. Until next time, keep listening to the creative whispers within. They may be guiding you somewhere more beautiful than you can yet imagine. Take care.